Canadian podcaster, your new favorite feature. Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so this is Dave. Welcome back to the Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. Yeah, I've been playing with tools and having fun. Hey, look at the title of this episode, all right? Podcasting may, do you get that? May just be your springboard into a great community. Yes, I have the word May and spring. Come on. That's free. You don't have to pay for that at all. Nice to have you here. It's the Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. It's the mid-May check-in, and I'm glad you're here. Thanks for pressing play. Thanks for checking out the magazine. Let's go. It's great to be part of your day. Thanks for making time to check in with the show. If you haven't shared the magazine with one podcaster yet, that's your homework. You got to do that. You got to share the magazine. Share a link to CanadianPodcaster.com. Easy to say, easy to remember. It's right there in the name. You and me, we're Canadian podcasters. So let's share this thing already, okay? Come on. And let's get more podcasters in here. We have some great podcasters this month. We're going to play little clips of their episode coming up later here in the episode. And if you want to be part of this and you're like, how do I even do this? How do I get in front of this Dave guy and get myself in this magazine? Then reach out to me. I'm looking for people who have businesses around podcasting, content creation, tools, services. You help people. I know there's people who listen to the show, for example, who help people create podcast artwork and websites and all of that. And yet, we haven't featured you yet. You know who you are. And I can see in my emails that go out once a month, which you can sign up for on CanadianPodcaster.com, I can see that you are not only subscribed, but actually checking out the emails. So, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, person that I'm speaking to, you need to be in the magazine so we can promote you and what you do because you do great things. I think you know who I'm talking to. So, yeah, we need to hear from you and people like you. So reach out. Let's get you in the magazine. Any kind of tools, services, anything that helps creative people, I want to feature you. If you're a podcaster and you're just starting or you've been doing this forever, then let me know. If you haven't seen in all of the episodes, in all the editions so far, your favorite Canadian podcaster yet, then why are you hiding them from me? Tell me about them. Let's put them in the magazine. There's a lot of great tools. You want to write for the magazine? I'm always looking for writers, share opinion pieces, talk about the Canadian podcasting landscape, whatever you got. Other newsletters you subscribe to that are Canadian-based, let me know. Always go check out Katie at Pod the North and her podcast, Canardian, a great Canadian podcaster. Everybody go check out Katie. But we are here to do one thing, and that's to raise awareness for great Canadian content and great Canadian podcasters. It's Canadian Podcaster Online Magazine. You can tell I'm a big fan. I'm glad you're here. So big news that Dunkin' Donuts is coming to Canada. Interesting. We have Tim Hortons. There you go. So that's going to be interesting. I'm curious, what's your coffee order? What do you get when you go to Timmy's, your favorite coffee place? What do you get in your coffee? For me, it's double cream. That's it. Yeah, that's all I do. I don't do sugar in my coffee, just double cream. Oh, and you're like, why are you saying this, Dave? Seems really weird that you'd be talking about coffee right now. Well, that funny story. Funny you should bring that up. We have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the magazine to help this very magazine continue. So if you love it, this is always free. The podcast is free. The magazine is free. Everything we do here is free. But if you like to top up some guy named Dave's coffee cup, and here it is. There it is. That's my own sound effects. I made that up myself. Please go and check out the magazine. Click the links and go support the magazine by, filling our cup, which would be wonderful. Again, with the sound effects, Dave. Check out the magazine. And if you feel so inclined, and we are meeting your expectations, your boss says you get that review every year and it meets expectations and you get like a 0.5% of a raise. Well, I hope that this magazine meets your expectations, and if you are so inclined and can do so, please consider supporting the magazine and the podcast. And for that, I thank you with my double cream. And it's nice and warm, which is great. Okay, let's keep going. Big thanks to my podcast buddy, Scarlett Classic, out there in Alberta. Hello, Scarlett. You and your great podcast and all your cool things that you do. I love Scarlett does these videos and stuff on social. And go to classicchronicles.ca and you'll see what I mean. And she's got her like the cowboy hat on, and she's out in Alberta and all that good fun stuff. Go check out Scarlett. She's written again for the magazine. She's written all of the articles for the whole year already. That's how Scarlett is. And they'll all be featured every month. So again, Scarlett, thank you for being part of the podcast and for adding your amazing talents and abilities to the podcast and to the magazine. The dangers of comparison is what Scarlett's created for us. So there you go. Go check it out. And you will enjoy all things Scarlett Classic in the magazine this month. So on top of everything we do in the magazine, on top of my How to Podcast series, on top of the 8 other podcasts that I host, I also have another thing that I have. It's a curated list of free tools and resources for podcasters. Because some of us are doing this out of the goodness of our heart, not out of the depths of our bank account. So I have podcastforfree.com, and I have a jingle. There you go. So that's right. We do have podcastforfree.com. And this month on podcastforfree.com, we've added another tool that will really help you with your show. It is from the podcasthaven.com. It's analyze.thepodcasthaven.com. And what it is a way for you to find topics to help you grow your show. What it does is it goes through your podcast episodes. I believe it's the latest 25 episodes. It kind of goes through scores and rates all of your podcast episodes, shows you what you're doing well, shows you the gaps based on what people are searching for in your topic, in your niche, what your area is. And it's free, everybody. It's free for that 25 episodes. So go run your podcast through there. You'll need an RSS feed, a really simple syndication feed. That's what feeds Apple and Spotify and Audible and on and on. You'll need that to use this tool. But as you go in there and play with this, I think you're going to see some great gaps. I found episode title and suggestion ideas for things I'd never talked about on my How to Podcast series, howtopodcast.ca. And I used it. I'm like, wow, there's so many cool things in here. They're going to make my show so much better. So podcastforfree.com, it's where free tools and resources for podcasters lives. And I'd love for you to go check it out. And go check out this Podcast Haven tool. It's amazing. Pod SEO, another cool tool that's there. They have a free plan for you as well. You can even spy on your competitors and see what they're doing compared to what you're doing. Really good. And WavePod. It's an AI note-taking service where you can use it to go through and look at other podcasts and get summaries and things from their podcasts and bring it back to you. Super cool. Definitely go check that out. And we use Podlink as well for all of our shareable links to our podcast episodes, whether it's a guest, whether it's an episode of the show in general. Pod.link, totally free. Go search up your podcast, share the links, get out there. And if you are interested in all the other free tools that I'm using, here's the jingle one more time. Okay, so enough promos. Let's get into the episodes. Let's promo somebody else besides Dave. How about we focus on the podcasters for the month of May in the magazine? It's a great lineup, great collection of Canadian voices here that we're celebrating in May. And again, if you want to be part of June, I need to know now, please, so that we can get you into June and feature you. I'm already building my list already, secretly behind the scenes as I scour the internet looking for you. But you can make my job a lot easier by just reaching out to me at CanadianPodcaster.com and saying, Dave, put me in the magazine. That's all it takes. And, maybe a little bit of coffee, but just tell me you want to be in, you're in. Let me know. Here we go. The podcasters for May on the Canadian Podcaster online magazine. I hope you share this. And here's a little taste of the great voices featured in the magazine this month. Here we go. Okay, so make sure you follow this show, like the Canadian Podcaster online magazine podcast, the one you're listening to right now. Make sure you follow this show too. Let's jump in first with our first one from the magazine. It's Her Energy Unlocked, and HER stands for Health, Economics, and Relationships for Women. Great podcast here for you on the Canadian Podcaster online magazine for May 2026. Let's talk about Her Energy. Here's a little taste of the show.
Have you ever felt like the world just doesn't understand what you're feeling? Like the advice you hear doesn't quite fit your life, or the stories you see online miss the real struggles and victories that matter the most? Hi, my name is Mandeep Kaur. I'm 47 years old, married with 3 adult-aged kids. Welcome to Her Energy Unlocked podcast by me, Mandeep Kaur. As a first-generation Canadian with a background in e-commerce, I've lived at the intersection of ambition, responsibility, and reinvention. This podcast is a part of my own journey of self-discovery where we have honest conversations about HER. HER stands for Health, Economics, and Relationships, especially for women navigating midlife with intention. What are the topics that we're going to cover in my podcast? The H starts for health, which includes mental wellness, emotional resiliency, nutritional hacks, self-care strategies, and overcoming burnout. The E stands for economics, which includes smart money habits, budgeting tips, investing basics, career growth, and financial independence. And the R is for relationships, building authentic connections, navigating friendships and family dynamics, romantic partnerships, and effective communication. Week after week, I will be peeling back the layers. Every episode, I will bring real conversations with real people, from experts, change makers, and everyday heroes who share insights, challenges, and breakthroughs that you can actually relate to. No judgment, no sugarcoating, just honest stories, actionable advice, and inspiration to help you make sense of your world and maybe even change it. If you're ready to feel seen, hear the truth, and explore topics that truly matter, tune into Her Energy Podcast. New episodes will be released every Tuesday, and follow along on TikTok and Instagram. I cannot wait to hear from you.
So there you go. Please share this podcast out with everyone. Share the link to the magazine and share this podcast for women 35 plus who are ready to reconnect with themselves and create a more aligned and empowered life. It's Her Energy Unlocked. There you go. Up next, we have proof that podcasts are more than interviews. We have Welcome to Earth Stories, and these are amazing, immersive stories for us in audio format, and there's so many great effects to this. I love how this creator creates his content, great stories, and yeah, this was a highly shareable podcast. Welcome to Earth Stories. Here's a little taste for you, and talk about production value. I love this podcast. Here's Welcome to Earth Stories.
I never like nosy neighbors. You know that type, right? When you're taking out the trash and the recycling, they make sure that you're doing it correctly. I remember once taking out the garbage and a nosy neighbor said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be taking out on Tuesday. You got to take it out on Wednesday. Remember the rules." And then sometimes those neighbors, those nosy neighbors, are the first ones to complain. I figure that these neighbors are mostly older. In most cases, they're not young people. Young people have other things to do with their lives. It's usually the older ones that make it their business to police the neighborhood. I said, I would never turn into that. When I get older, you're not going to see me being a nosy Parker. But just last week, I turned into one of those old nosy neighbors. But I think it was for the right cause.
Welcome to Earth Stories.
The other day ago, I saw somebody outside of our bay window. He looked peculiar. Not peculiar looking, but what he was doing. He walked by, and then he'll turn around, walk back right, and then he'll stop, and then he'll walk left. So I said, okay, he's probably just waiting for somebody. There's nothing to be suspicious about. People do that all the time. In fact, there's another neighbor of mine. He sat, and I'm not kidding you, on his staircase what seemed like about 3 hours. I don't know what he was waiting for. He was just sitting there, not reading a book, not on his cell phone, but just sitting there, almost like a scary movie. But this other guy was even scarier. He just kept on walking back and forth. And I did my best not to make eye contact. I was just watching him outside of my home. Forth, back. And then I said, okay, that's all right. He's just waiting for somebody, so he's just pacing back and forth.
1 hour and 15 brutal minutes after.
He was still.
So there you go. That's Welcome to Earth Stories. A great podcast. Definitely worth a listen. You'll love this podcast. So definitely go check that out. Also featured in the magazine for May. Let's go next to Leading Through Crisis. This is a podcast from Revisionary, and it's a podcast that offers real, unfiltered conversations with business trailblazers, change makers, and truth tellers. Leading Through Crisis. Here's a taste of this podcast in the magazine for May. Here you go.
My work is constantly pushing against the assumptions of our time that are obviously failing, to remind people of how people connected for generations before we got to this disaster of cultural patterns. But here's the thing. As soon as we change it, everything changes.
Welcome to the Leading Through Crisis podcast, brought to you by Revisionary, exploring resilient leadership in a world of constant change. Every few weeks, Celine Williams, speaker, strategist, and trusted advisor to leaders navigating change, brings conversations that explore how to deal with the inevitable and perpetual shifts of leadership. These discussions reveal practical insights, thoughtful strategies, and stories of resilience to help you lead with clarity and calm.
My guest today is Charles Vogel, author, speaker, and leadership development advisor, who has worked with organizations such as Airbnb and the U.S. Army and is a thought leader at the Google School for Leadership. He's best known for his book, The Art of Community, now in its second edition. Welcome, Charles.
Celine, thank you for welcoming me.
It is my pleasure. The way we always start this podcast is I ask the question, the name of the podcast is Leading Through Crisis. When you hear that phrase, what does that mean for you, or what comes up for you?
The way I define crisis as a working definition for myself is a crisis is when we come to a place where there are at least two outcomes that are possible, and we have to make choices to lead to one of those two outcomes, although, of course, there may be more than others. And, when I think of a crisis, I think of high stakes. I know colloquially, many people who have not had a lot of experience in leadership or maybe gotten out very much will mislabel challenges as crises. And sometimes we have to remind them that not everything is a crisis.
There you go. So that's another great podcast here featured in the magazine for May. And we're going to jump over to the Vinyl Cafe. And we're going to take you backstage, not on stage, but backstage at the Vinyl Cafe. These feature stories about Canada's favorite fictional family, Dave, Morley, and the Kids, narrated by the late Stuart McLean and recorded live in concert. Very interesting way of taking content and repurposing it as a podcast. I think this is really, really smart. And if you've ever wanted to go backstage, here's your backstage pass. Here's a little taste of backstage at the Vinyl Cafe.
Hello, I'm Jess Milton, host of Backstage at the Vinyl Cafe. If you listen to the podcast, then you know that every week we welcome you into the warm, wonderful world of Stuart McLean. And I'm there to tell you the backstories behind the stories. If you love the show just the way it is, you can keep listening exactly as you always have. We'll be with you every Friday from this week right until the summer. Just like always. Nothing changes. But if you're one of those people who has written and asked for a way to listen ad-free, well, you're in luck. Our friends at the Apostrophe Podcast Network are now offering a subscriber option. Subscribers listen to the pod ad-free, 0 ads across the entire catalog. Every week, subscribers will get the show early. Plus, there's a whole bunch of other goodies too. I'm most excited for the virtual parties because well, if you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, then you'll know how much I love a party. I cannot wait to hang out with you online. There'll be virtual parties. There'll be Ask Me Anythings, which is, well, a chance to ask me anything. You can ask about the story behind the story. You can ask specific questions about life on the road. You can tell me your funny story. A whole bunch of stuff. It's called apostrophe all ears. And if you are all ears for this opportunity, cracking myself up there. If you're all ears for this opportunity, you can head to the link in the description and follow the prompts. And if you're not interested, don't worry about it. Because like I said, nothing changes unless you want it to. Backstage at the Vinyl Cafe will continue to come to you every Friday this season, just like it always has. Regardless of how you listen, I am so looking forward to spending another season with you. Backstage at the Vinyl Cafe.
There you go. So there you go. We've taken you backstage. Now we're going to go take you to the news. The Beaverton. It's a weekly report with an all-star panel of comedians to talk, mock, and riff their way through the news of the week. The Beaverton. And what's better, right, here in Canada than to have a beaver as part of the podcast? Come on, right? It's like our identity. Here's a taste of the Beaverton. Time to get some news. Let's get an update from the Beaverton. Here we go.
Tonight on the Beaverton, it's a trailer for our new/old podcast. What's up, guys? I'm Luke Gordon-Field, and I am the editor-in-chief of The Beaverton, aka North America's trusted source of news, aka Canada's best, and quite possibly only, I haven't checked in a while, satirical news website. But now I'm taking off my editor's cap and putting on my podcast host beret to bring you The Beaverton Weekly Report, a panel show where I invite Canada's funniest comedians and writers to riff on the news of the week. We'll be covering all the top stories, whether they be local, national, or international. From the silly to the serious, the tragic to the tumultuous, we will be there to make fun of it all. We don't want to be too much of a bummer, though, so we promise to talk about New Brunswick as little as possible. Then, once we've covered all the so-called real news, I challenge my panelists to the approximately 10-minute long quiz, where I put their knowledge of some less widely known and quite possibly made-up news stories to the test. The winner earns my respect and admiration, meaning the stakes could not be any lower. So join me and my panel as we bring a little lunacy to a world gone mad. All-star regular panelists include wonderful Beaverton writers and comedians like Ian McIntyre, Claire Blackwood, Niall Sagan, and Megan McKay. We'll also have a number of surprise special guests. Will those surprise guests likely be comedians we are able to book on short notice? Probably, but it will still be a surprise to you. The Beaverton Weekly Report. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and this part will blow your mind, but you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Crazy, I know. And for those of you who are already subscribed to the show from back when we did it 6 years ago, and just had this trailer appear on your feed out of nowhere, Ghost of Christmas Past style, hey, sorry for going away for a little while there, but we're back. Thanks for staying subscribed to us this whole time. Please don't unsubscribe now. That would really defeat the point of doing this trailer. Thank you. Bye.
One of the big things we're missing in podcasting right now is more local podcasts. Not podcasts focused on the world, not global podcasts, not podcasts that are trying to win over every person in every country. But what about something super local? River Valley Podcast is a great example of a local podcast that does things really, really well. And if you are thinking about starting a podcast and you're not really sure what to do, think about a local show. TV, news, radio, a lot of that stuff's not happening locally anymore like it used to back in the day, which created a great big open door for you as a creator to be the voice of your community. River Valley Podcast is a great example of a local podcast done right. Here's a taste of it, proudly featured in the magazine Canadian Podcaster Online for May. Here is River Valley Podcast.
I'm Lasha Matheson, the chairperson of the Lumsden Garden Society, and I'm listening to the River Valley Podcast.
You're listening to the River Valley Podcast, your source for all things Lumsden, news, events, and everything in between right here in the heart of the valley. So grab your coffee and let's dive in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the River Valley Podcast. I'm Dan, and, well, for this episode, I'm flying solo. Well, at least for this part. Bonnie's away taking care of a few things, but don't worry. She's doing just fine and will be joining me later in the show. We've got a jam-packed episode ahead. Bonnie sits down with the 3 candidates running for town council, and she also brings us another edition of the Talk of the Town. We got a brand new chapter of Past, Present, and Proud, plus full coverage and updates from the May 12th Town Council meeting. And later on, Bonnie and I will wrap things up with the latest news, events, and happenings from around Lumsden and the Valley. But first, we begin the way we always do, from the files of Did You Know?
And now, from the files of Did You Know? Did you know? The story of hotels in Lumsden isn't just about one building. Long before the Lumsden Hotel most people remember, there was another one, the Maple Leaf Hotel.
So if you've ever been to the library, might have been a while, but if you've been to the library, one of the things they're like, shh, quiet, right? We're in the library, everybody just shh, 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 right? Don't talk too loud. Well, what about if there was an unquiet library? What if it was the Unquiet Library podcast? And it was an audio documentary series uncovering the history, controversies, and cultural legacy of the University of Toronto's John P. Roberts Research Library. What if that podcast existed? Well, what if we found it and it's part of the magazine? Just quietly enjoy this Unquiet Library podcast. Here's a taste.
Welcome to the Unquiet Library, a podcast about one of Toronto's most iconic, most debated, and most misunderstood buildings, the John P. Robarts Research Library at the University of Toronto. For 50 years, Robarts has stood at the heart of Canada's largest university, a fortress of concrete, knowledge, controversy, and change. Some call it Toronto's ugliest building, others a brutalist masterpiece. But everyone agrees on one thing: Robarts has stories to tell. In this series, we go behind the scenes of the library, lovingly and sometimes not so lovingly nicknamed Fort Book. Through interviews with architects, librarians, staff, administrators, alumni, and faculty, we uncover the surprising history and human ingenuity that brought Robarts to life. You'll hear about the social, political, and architectural trends that shaped its bold, polarizing design, how librarians and staff kept the library running through decades of technological transformation, from the card catalog to CD-ROMs, and eventually to the entire digital universe now at our fingertips. We'll explore the hidden labor that kept Robarts alive, the gendered dynamics of library work, the struggles over funding and austerity, and the evolving role of academic libraries in a rapidly changing world. And we'll ask, what does the future of Robarts look like? Along the way, you'll get guided tours, personal reflections, untold stories, and a new perspective on the library that has shaped generations of researchers, students, and Toronto itself. I'm Jesse Carliner. Join me as we open the doors and the archives of the Unquiet Library. Subscribe now and discover the stories behind Toronto's most unquiet library.
There you go. Time to leave the library now. Let's move on. Reluctantly. Let's move on. What about Reluctantly with Terry Evans? A remarkable podcast with fantastic stories that deserve to be heard. Terry Evans lets the guests tell their story. Comics, musicians, sports personalities, entrepreneurs, weirdos, wackos, and nut bars. The perfect podcast for me because I identify with all three of those. Reluctantly with Terry Evans. Here's a little taste of Terry's show. And don't be reluctant about sharing this show because it's really, really good. Reluctantly with Terry Evans. Here you go.
Hi, this is Terry Evans. I've been waking Edmontonians up for over 40 years. When people ask me, when are you starting a podcast? The answer was usually never. I always thought doing the radio show was enough. Yet here we are, and I have reluctantly jumped in with both feet. With a new show featuring remarkable people with fantastic stories that deserve to be heard. The stories told in the first person by the storytellers themselves, comics, musicians, sports personalities, entrepreneurs, wackos, weirdos, and nut bars. I've met them all, and in a large part, they've been a huge part of my world and the world of those who listen to my morning show every day. You might say that they have made my world go round.
Good friends and great conversations. Reluctantly with Terry Evans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at soundoff.network.
There you go. Sounds like Terry was reluctant to even create the podcast, but now it's great. So go check it out reluctantly. Now we want him to go take a run in Saskatchewan. What if there was a podcast for runners in Saskatchewan, a podcast about Saskatchewan runners and the people and places that inspire them? If you like moose, beaver, Canadian flags, and running, you'll love this podcast. Check it out in the magazine and click through and go take this on your next run and enjoy the Saskatchewan Run. It's a podcast and it's for you. Let's go.
Hello, my name is Jason Burns, and in the first ever episode of the Saskatchewan podcast, we are going to get to know me a little bit.
The last day of the summer vacation, we stopped in at the gas station. We walked along the train tracks. We didn't think about going back.
You are listening to the Saskatchewan podcast with your host, Jason Burns, a podcast where we talk to Saskatchewan runners about the people and places that inspire them.
We drank watery coffee with cream. The kind that comes
Hello and welcome to the Saskatchewan podcast. In case you didn't gather it from the intro, this is going to be a podcast about Saskatchewan runners and all the wonderful people that make up our community. I was just going to give a little history of myself and what has inspired me to start making this podcast. First off, I do listen to a lot of podcasts from all around North America and the world, and many of them have to do with running, and I always find that our beautiful province and people are very underrepresented anywhere. You never hear anything about Saskatchewan races or runners. So I want to change that and give many people that I know and many people I hope to get to know in the near future here a chance to tell their story and for me to interview them and get to know them a little bit and share that with the listeners. So I think that's going to be very, very exciting.
So before we run out the door, how about if we just hung around just for just one tip? Just one tip about podcasting. The podcast performance coach is here, and this is a podcast for podcasters looking to grow their authority and convert with greater ease. And this is a really fun podcast to listen to. They're short episodes, right to the point, just the tips you need as a podcaster. And I love how this show is edited. I love everything about this podcast. I'm a frequent listener. It's always in my queue for the next episode. So here's just one tip, the podcast performance coach for you. You'll enjoy this show. This one you should add to your list for sure. Here we go. Just one tip.
Hey, podcaster. I'm Tim Wahlberg, your podcast performance coach. Thanks for checking out my podcast. Before I tell you how I'm qualified to call myself your podcast performance coach, let me first tell you what you'll get out of listening to my podcast. I believe you're here for one reason, and that's to have a better sounding podcast. You probably want to sound more like a pro and gain more podcast fans. I want to help you achieve that. In every episode, I'm going to deliver an actionable tip that you can apply to your very next podcast. Just one tip, and I'll never take more than 5 minutes of your precious time. I know you're busy. Some of my tips may be technical. Some may reveal how to get more from a guest. But mostly, I'm focused on your performance, how you are as a host. Ultimately, your performance will determine how you engage your guest and how you connect with your listener. For most podcast hosts, your goal is to inform, entertain, and engage. Do these three things well, and you'll create loyal and passionate fans who will want to share your message, and that, ultimately, is how to grow your show. Why should you take my advice? I've been in the radio broadcast industry for almost 25 years, mostly in talk radio. I'm a host, an award-winning producer, and have developed and directed top talent. And I've spent years as an instructor at Broadcast College. I know and can teach you what the pros do. The tools, the tricks, and the secrets they use to make great content. So, why should that matter to you as a podcaster? Because in both worlds, the listener rules. I started listening to podcasts years ago when the audience was much more forgiving. It was a new medium back then, and people got used to bad quality and rambling presenters. But things have changed. Today's podcast listener expects more. A lot more. The fact that there are so many podcasts competing for listeners means you have to be great if you want to succeed. Have you ever been listening to the radio or a podcast that you just couldn't shut off? You either arrived at your destination already, maybe you were in your car or back home from walking the dog, and you stopped and waited. You just kept listening. You were frozen. You wanted to hear how it ended. It could have been the host, an amazing guest, or a great story. That's engagement. You became invested and involved. Wouldn't it be great if your podcast created moments like that for your listener? When it comes to podcasts, I hear things that others don't. So many podcasters are missing opportunities to be better presenters. My podcasts are based on some of the most common mistakes I hear and the issues that some of my clients struggle with. Some of my tips you may have heard of. They're simple and easy to apply, kind of like no-brainers. Sometimes you just got to know the basics. But others are a little more in depth. You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to practice them. And over weeks and a little bit of time, you'll get better at it. And those will become great habits. By applying my tips, you'll sound more like a pro and gain more podcast fans. Subscribe to this podcast now, and let's start making your podcast better each time you hit record. You can learn a little bit more about me and my podcast performance coaching services by visiting podcastperformancecoach.com. Thanks for checking out my podcast. I look forward to sharing more of my experience with you and hopefully working with you in the near future. I'm Tim Wahlberg. See ya!
So there you go. That's Tim. Feels kind of like Austin Powers, right? It feels like that, and I love it. It's a great show, really good editing. He's very fun to listen to as well. Kind of cheeky, which is great. I enjoy it. I love that kind of sense of humor, and great, valuable podcast for you to fall in love with. Go check out Just One Tip. Again, featured in the magazine for May. And I just love sharing these podcasts with you and putting these out into the world. This is the entire reason for this magazine, is I wanted to create something that introduced you to new content. People are saying all the time, I've got to the end of my list. I've listened to everything that I've subscribed to. I don't have any new things to listen to, and I don't even know where to start. So that's what this magazine is. It's meant to be a starting point for you as a Canadian content creator or someone who's a fan of content from Canada to go and support some amazing podcasters. So we have this edition here in May. Go back through all of the archives, all of the past editions of this magazine. You will find links to all these different podcasters. And you can also go through and listen on the 15th of every month. You get to hear clips just like you did today from each of these podcasts that we have featured in the magazine for that month. If you want your podcast featured here, then please let me know. Send me a message. Connect with me through the podcast. I'd love to hear from you. And I'd love to feature you in June, July, August, whatever we can do to get you in. I'd love to have you here. So if you love a Canadian podcaster that hasn't been featured yet, let me know. If your show hasn't been featured, let me know. I'd love to connect with you and have you here in the next edition. And thank you to all of the amazing podcasters for letting us feature you this month. And congratulations on great shows. And I would love everyone to go support our fellow Canadian creators. It's amazing. So I had on the How to Podcast series, I had the chance to bring on a fellow podcaster from the US. And he has ADHD, and he's open about it. He shares his journey, his struggles, and coming off medication. For him, that was his choice, and how he navigates life as a podcaster with ADHD. So he came on my How to Podcast series show. His name is Mark Monick. He is the host of the Podcast Morning Show, which is recorded live on Clubhouse in front of a live audience, also streamed on YouTube and other places, and then released as a podcast later on, podcastmorningshow.com. And I get to be a part of that community, and I love being there. It's great. Clubhouse still exists, by the way. And so Mark was talking about how he, as a podcaster, navigates podcasting from an ADHD perspective himself, personally, but also we got to talk about how we as creators can create our podcasts for an audience that might be ADHD, and how we can maybe tailor how we edit the show, how long the show is, how the show progresses and moves along in topic, how we can break it up into chunks instead of one solid 45-minute conversation. There's things that we could do, and I'd love for you to go check out that episode of Mark on the podcast, but also to kind of just read through what I wrote. It's kind of a summary of the episode in the magazine for May, and I want you to put your thinking caps on. And if you personally aren't dealing with ADHD yourself, your audience might be, and you might be missing an opportunity to connect with them in a real genuine way on how you structure and build your show. So keep that in mind. There might be an opportunity there for your show that you've been neglecting or unaware of. And I put a link in the show notes episode for this podcast episode. Go listen to that episode if you have a chance and hear more from Mark. It's a great conversation. Something for us to think about. So thanks for being part of the magazine for May 2026. We are looking eagerly at June 2026. I can't believe I'm saying June already. Halfway through the month, next month, or halfway through the year, I mean. Wow. Like we're getting there, right? I hope you enjoy your holiday Mondays, wherever you're celebrating and whatever your province and territory you are, that you have those days off this year. Do something special with those days. Get away from the mic, get away from the camera, and spend time with your family. Get outside. Go, just go. And come back refreshed, ready to go with your podcast. If you ever need any help with your show, howtopodcast.ca, happy to help. And I would love to meet you. I would really, really love to meet you. I love meeting Canadians and supporting you any way possible. Reach out to me anytime. Let's get together, have a virtual coffee. Again, with a coffee, Dave. And let's get together and chat about your show. And maybe you're thinking about starting a show and you're a Canadian. You're like, how do I even do this? Hey, I got you. howtopodcast.ca, canadianpodcaster.com, wherever you want to go. I'll be here waiting for you. Please share the magazine with somebody this month and think about how you can participate in the future. And I keep the door open for you. I would love to have you here. Be a part of this. And let's make this our thing. Okay? This magazine, let's make it ours. Thanks for being here. And to all of our podcasters this month, thank you for letting us share clips of your show. And I hope it brings you many listens, many downloads, and much, much support. Let's fill up those coffee cups, everybody. Talk soon.
Canadian podcast.